Well, we are just a day away from the first round of voting in the French presidential election. Workers are preparing for voters to flood the polls after an unpredictable and chaotic campaign. How people vote could have a lasting impact on the European Union and the strength of the euro. And at the 11th hour, an attack in Paris may tip the scales. The fatal shooting of a police officer Thursday pushed some candidates to cancel events and go hard on security. ISIS has claimed responsibility for that attack. Well, let's get straight to Paris. Our Hala Gorani is live for us there. Hala, there's been more than a dozen terror attacks or so since 2014 in France. More than 200 people killed. The most recent just a few days ago. How is that going to play out at the ballot box?
So obviously it's possible that it might have an impact, although you mentioned that it's been several years now of pretty regular terrorist assaults on this country. And so whether or not at the very, very last minute, among especially those who've made up their minds that it will have a great impact remains to be seen. As far as the investigation into this attack, authorities are still saying that Karim Shirfi is the main suspect. He was gunned down on Thursday night after murdering that police officer and severely wounding another one. A passerby as well was injured in the attack, and ISIS claimed responsibility and mentioned on its media arm website a name, Abu Yusuf al-Belgiki, but that is not the name, obviously, of the suspect that French authorities have talked about. They did release the name of the victim, 37-year-old Jugelet, Xavier Jugelet, who was very active in the LGBT community. The name was confirmed to us by the head of the police union in this country. And so once again, police officers targeted in France. It's happened several times just in the past few months. We had some soldiers targeted in the Louvre by an Egyptian national, and then again at Orly airport just a few weeks ago, an attacker going after a female soldier guarding the airport there. So France, obviously, under the specter of terror, this is how this election is playing out. Many of the polling stations are being guarded a lot more closely this time around. We were told by the Paris mayor that they're doing, deputy mayor, I should say, that they're doing everything they can in this city in particular to make sure that the voting takes place as peacefully as possible. Across the country, we're talking 50,000 police officers, 7,000 extra military as part of the nationwide anti-terror plan in France. That is how seriously they're taking security as the first round of voting takes place tomorrow, Linda.
Right, so security, a massive issue. The other issue, of course, the European Union. This election pitting possibly two Eurosceptic candidates against each other, Le Pen and Mélenchon. What could this mean for the future of the EU?
Listen, I mean, we have reporting restrictions. Just to be clear, we cannot talk about the programs or the platforms of candidates or mention any polling. However, obviously, as you say, the importance of this election cannot be overstated. This is probably the most important political event for Europe in many, many years, certainly of this year, because there are two camps really battling each other as far as Europe is concerned. The Eurosceptic camp, the camp of some candidates who, if they could, would organize possibly even a popular referendum on Frexit, and others who are very passionately pro-Europe, who believe that the European Union is in fact a safeguard against conflict and allows France to be stronger in a group of countries than it ever could be alone. So what happens, the outcome of this election will determine a lot more than what happens to France, which is important in itself, but what happens as well to this very important political union called the European Union, especially after the UK voted for Brexit last year, Linda.
Yeah, certainly a lot at stake. Hala Gorani, great to have your analysis on that from Paris. Thank you very much.